Okay. So welcome to this fourth session in this embedded system overview. Last time, what we had discussed is all about the software architecture, more specifically significance of knowing the software architectures for embedded system. And then we went on for the discussion on this particular software architectures. More specifically, as we understand, any software architecture would allow developer or application programmer a more precise control to be established over the timing of an applications or execution time of that application. That is what the reason that we need to understand, first of all, in general, what are the different software architectures, so that after knowing the merits and demerits, or after having a proper evaluation of these architectures for our application, we should be able to use that particular software architecture most appropriately for the required application. So that was a significance that we tried and derived for the last sessions. Okay, we compared these particular software architectures specific with an embedded applications, and we understood some of the guidelines in the form of what would be the worst case response time by making use of this architecture. What would be this exactly the duration for which and response time is need to be understood. So all these aspects we tried and understood during the comparison of this particular software architectures. Okay, in the today's session we are trying to understand the techno-commercial aspects that we called as a design metrics for embedded systems. And after understanding this design metrics, we should be in a position to investigate these particular design metrics for an embedded systems. And we have an assignment frame on this particular aspect. Okay, that I'll let you know in the next part of it. If you see the content of this particular unit, it's very like what exactly we mean by a design metrics. So what are the design challenges those embedded system designer would face? Then why to learn these design metrics? That is again the significance of learning these design metrics are to be understood. Then what are the different techno-commercial design metrics with an example? And what exactly mean by design productivity gap? Though it doesn't come into the exact design metrics, but one would need to understand this design productivity gap in the process of the design. And then we'll understand what is the current version of the exemplary solution for this particular issue called design productivity gap. And then I'll discuss very briefly about the assignment that you will have to do in order to evaluate this design metrics for the product of your choice. Okay, so let's understand what exactly the design metrics is. So before discussing directly on the design metrics, let me recap or let me discuss in brief what are the typical flow that embedded system designer would undergo for the development process. Okay, and this particular flow is known to all of us in a way where any product for any company first of all goes through the phase of conceptualization. After the broad level of the user benefits, broad level of the technological usage is being jotted in this particular phase of conceptualization, then the design team would start their exercises in order to make this particular design to the expectations of the expectations of the potential user, as well as whatever the technology stack that is available towards this particular company. So second phase would be of a design phase, and third phase is whatever is being designed that would be there in an actual implementation form, either within software and hardware. Let me remind you at the moment, we have discussed here a couple of sessions back that embedded systems are executed first on the paper. I mean, more the stronger design efforts that would be made, lesser the effort that would be expected in the latter phase of this particular development process of embedded system. That is what the design aspects becomes very vital or very important in order to bring the benefits of that particular product to the company. And this is what all about we are going to discuss in the today's session in the form of design metrics. What all the factors that the engineer is supposed to look, engineer is supposed to understand in order to design and develop a product for a company, for which the name and fame of the company would be retained or would be sustained in the market because of that particular product. And this is, I guess, very general discussions, as well as this particular discussion would make us aware that how should be an engineer would be looking out towards the design and development of an embedded systems. Okay, so after this particular implementation in the software and hardware form, then it goes, once the prototyping is being made, then it goes to the testing phase, as we know, right? After testing, whatever the specifications, those are being defined at this particular design phases. These specifications would be validated, and then everything is being there correct at this particular point. Then company can think of launching that particular product into the market. Okay. Now, depending on this particular flow, after the company launched the product into the market, that would never be an end of that particular assignment for the company. Okay, it is always being looped back. Once the product is getting reached to the market, the feedback on the product or the expectation of a product from that particular product is always expected to be cognized in the latter phase or latter version of that particular product, and that has to be appropriately get mentioned to the design team of that particular product. And we have numerous examples for this, isn't it? The very famous example, if you see any of the, for example, any of the gadget, once it comes to the market, there always happens to be a market survey. There always happens to be known with, is there any other expectation that user would have about the product, so that in the latter version of that product, the designers would be able to incorporate that. And in the latter phase of the product, there shouldn't incur very heavy cost to incorporate those kind of features. One more aspect that as an engineer we should understand, that there are many strategies that companies are playing at the moment in order to get their product sustained in the market for longer time. This is just because it is not the case like underlying hardware or the software capability or technology stack would not be addressed that particular feature at that moment when it got designed. No, it was not the case. Deliberately at some time, in order to get the newer features, in order to get the newer versions into the market, that particular product is in the initial release might be released with some kind of underestimated features, and later on the features would get added up in order to just catch up the hold of this particular gadgets. And the better example that you can understand is the Apple company. Apple never releases its first products of their range with very flooded features of it. They wanted customer to be used for that product, and then by adding the features, customers would be falling in love with that particular product in more rigorous way, and that it becomes the lifelong customer for that particular company. I mean, all these are the factors that we should be knowing beforehand, beforehand of this particular design of this embedded system. And the design metrics are specifically making us learn all these particular aspects. So let's start what exactly the design metrics is all about. In a formal way, or in a formal words, the design metrics are referred to be as a measurable features of systems implementation. I'm emphasizing on the word of measurable because something which is measured, which is something quantifiable, that only can be published, that only can be publicized, and over which the faith and fame of the company product could be gained. Okay, it's not something like that. This product is very good. This product has got a better resolution. This product has got better features, which in terms of this customability, that is all the general features which the layman users would understand. But as far as the users are also getting more sensible, they are also being in touch with the technical discussions of the product very heavily because of the open forum, because of the internet and all that access. Everyone, even we, before buying any product, we always has got a rigorous review of that particular product. And in that particular case, the features or the measurable features of the system's implementation has to be brought in very effective way. If someone tells you that, okay, fine, this particular battery consumption of this particular device is more optimized, okay, then you definitely need to understand for how many hours, how many days I don't need to charge the battery. in order to get it discharged from 90 to 10%, for example. I mean, all these are the aspects that the user is also getting educated onto it. And that is what becoming more challenging for even embedded system designer in order to cope up all these requirements. Okay, we are discussing it in current context of the time only. Though these are the features which are traditionally derived, but these features are definitely expected to be discussed in line with the time. And that's what I'm trying to do at the moment. Okay. So these particular measurable features of system implementations are referred to as an design metrics. Okay. Then what is the significance of design metrics? So these design metrics would prove to be as a driving forces for embedded engineers to be with a current trend. That is what I'm trying to explain at this particular moment. If current trend happens to be with a very miniaturized size, with an optimized power requirement, as well as with a better connectivity across the different protocols, I just want to ask you here a question. Will you be happy like if your mobile phone would give you some kind of Zigbee protocol stack onto it in order to communicate devices? I mean, why not? Isn't it? So there, whatever is being needed by a group of application, group of customers, basically, those are expected to be understood and to be featured into that particular products. And that is what I said, like the significance of design metrics is, these are the driving forces for embedded engineers to be there with the time or to be with the current trends, whatever trends are going on. Accordingly, that design aspects and everything has to be there. Okay. So I just quick have a recap of these slides. In a process of development of an embedded system, one should be able to hook up with what are the measurable features of systems implementation. Those are being referred to be as in design metrics. And the significance of the design metrics is these design metrics are proved to be as a driving forces for embedded engineers to be with the current trends so that company would be benefit out of that particular product once that product is getting launched into the market. Because once the product is got into the market, then there is no U-turn for that particular product for the company. So everything has to be thought in prior way in order to get that product released beforehand itself. And that is what it's more significance to understand this design metrics. Okay. So with this much preamble on the design metrics, let me brief you what are the different design metrics which are more common. We have the design metric classification in the two forms. One is common design metrics and second one called as performance design metrics, which are more related to a technical aspect. Okay, we are discussing the techno-commercial aspect of embedded systems. So in a techno-commercial aspect, we need to understand one thing very for sure, that no company does a business for the sake of charity, isn't it? So everyone is expecting a good benefit. Everyone is expecting a good, I mean to say the profit share has to be rise by day in, day out. That is what the expectation of the company. And in line with that, the commercial aspect, the design metrics which brought us the commercial aspects is expected to be known by an engineer to add the value for himself into the company. An engineer who is knowing these particular commercial values, commercial aspects of the product design is always referred to be as an asset for any kind of company. And that is what our expectation is to know with this particular design metrics, which are the techno-commercial systems implementation features. Okay, so let's start understanding these design metrics. The first design metrics is, as we all know, that the unit cost. And it is being defined as, it is the monetary cost of manufacturing each copy of the system, excluding NRE cost. Now, the first part of this particular statement is very easy to understand, that what is the monetary cost of manufacturing each copy of the system. Okay, it is being referred to as a manufacturing. I here understand that each one of us understand the difference between cost and price. Price is the amount of money that we pay for getting that product from the market, right? That is what we call MRP, maximum retail price. And cost is incurred to the company in order to make a single copy of that particular product. Okay, so the half portion is now understood. The second half portion that expect us to understand what is an NRE cost. NRE stands for non-recurring engineering cost. So let's try and understand in what way this NRE cost could be understood. So this non-recurring engineering cost is nothing but these are the costs which is one-time monetary cost of designing the system. And here I expect some little bit elaborations to be made in order to understand the things. Okay. Like for example, if I buy a particular product from a market for example, $10,000 or for example, 10,000 rupees. Now this is the price for which we are getting that product. The company might had cost, unit cost of that particular product somewhere around 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Okay. Fine. But is it that cost is required to engineer that product? Now here the terms of product engineering comes into picture. In order to have this particular product to be manufactured, the engineering task expects so many things to underline, which is normally not brought onto the surface for the user or for the application or for that particular customer, isn't it? There always happens to be a technology transfer cost. There always happens to be the cost licensing of that particular tool that company makes in order to make the first copy of that particular cost. I mean, the non-recurring engineering cost is referred to as a one-time because company has to pay only one-time cost in order to procure the different tools and technology by which this particular product can be engineered, isn't it? Can be engineered and manufactured, and then it is being brought into the market. So that is what it is being referring to as a non-recurring. That means it is a one-time monetary cost of designing the system, which is far, far greater than the unit cost as well as the price that we are getting available with. A product cost 10,000 doesn't mean that the company incurred the 10,000 for this. No, isn't it? We understand the many factors which are being there as an commercial factors in between that also. Intention of this understanding NRE cost, non-recurring engineering cost, is only that company has got so many things which are being invested in order to get that particular product. Okay, maybe $10 billion might be an NRE cost by which the company with a huge scale or mass scale production would able to sell that particular product for something like the $20. Now, 20 billion to $20, you can understand the difference. And amount of copies those would be manufactured from the company in the mass scale in order to have the benefits or the break even of that commercials, that is also expected to be known, right? And I think as an engineer we should know all these aspects because we will be working for the industry, we will be working for the company, and from that aspect the commercial of the product, the techno commerciality of the product is to be understood. Okay, and that is what, like, this NRE cost is different than the unit cost. In some next slides, I'll be giving some examples related to this and how does the different technology would cater the different incurring of the NRE cost as well as how does it boils down to a unit cost. Okay, but at the moment, at this particular moment, I just want you to make clarification or just want to you understand the terms called as an NRE cost, which is non-recurring engineering cost. Okay. The next metrics that we are about to discuss is the size. I really don't need to mention much onto this because we understand that it's a physical space required by the system, and we all are agree that we are now living with a miniaturized size of the product. Each one of us expect the size of the product to be very small as well. The performance of the product should be very high, isn't it? So I want the minimum size of the product with all the features and all the performance it should be flooded with. And this is an expectation, even as a general customer. And that has to be fulfilled, isn't it? So size aspect, which is a common design matrix, is also to be considered while designing it. Next comes with the performance. Now performance happens to be in two ways. One is referred to as an execution time. How much time it will take for the particular task to perform by that particular system. That is one thing that is called as an execution time. And likewise, how many tasks those could be performed in unit time. If I consider as a unit time to be as in second, then how many times that, how many times this particular task would be performed per unit second. That is number of tasks per second called as a throughput. So performance sometimes to be referred to as an execution time. It's completely depend on the application, and sometimes it is referred to be thought as an throughput, isn't it? Like the last example that we discussed, the digital camera. How long it will take to process the image, rather than that, in a second, how many images I can capture. That even matters a lot, because that is going to develop an ability for that particular camera to be used as a video recorder in order to record more number of frames per second. And when I record more number of frames per second, I don't need to tell you the different benefit that one would have out of this particular achievements, isn't it? So irrespective of how much time it will take to process an image, process the single frame of a video, in concurrent operations, how you can make that better for the throughputs also. It's completely depend on the application. Some application expect very high or some applications expect very high on performance of execution time, that it should be very small time, execution time should be very small. As well as some applications would expect like, let the execution time be some legitimate, let it be moderate, but I should be able to execute more number of tasks per unit time, isn't it? So this particular aspect also need to be understood as far as the performance of the system is concerned. The next parameter we are supposed to understand is far common, which is the power. And we had discussed like the amount of power consumed by the system. In any case, that has to be small. It is only with the reason that most of the embedded systems are stand-alone for their power supplies. They are powered from batteries, isn't it? And in such cases, the obvious requirement that comes out to be that particular device doesn't need a battery charging very often. And that is what the amount of power consumed by the system, that should be very small. Okay. And there are so many tools are available, which are, very heavy, very heavy licensing fees, which would try and optimize the power consumption in the product. And once the company pays those particular fees, licensing fees for that particular tools to optimize the power, it gets added up into this particular non-recurring engineering cost, isn't it? I mean, that is not being tangible. That is not being tangible to the customer, but company has incurred it in order to engineer that particular product towards the low power consumption. I mean, everything, whatever aspect that we'll be having, all aspects definitely required to govern by the technology of that technology usage of the company. And more the dedicated, more the refined technology company uses, more the payment or more the licensing fee it needs to give to the vendors. And that is what the NRE cost plays a very significant role into it. Okay, I'm just trying to map this particular design metrics over to the NRE cost itself. Okay, fine. So moving ahead, try and understand the flexibility. It is being written that the ability to change the functionality of the system without incurring any NRE cost. That is what I explained you an example where many companies has got a strategic planning that the first version of their product might not be flooded with very high features, isn't it? But that doesn't mean that underlying hardware and software is not able to cope up with the recent features or new features, isn't it? Because they wanted to launch that particular features without having a different tools to be used, without having different licensings to be paid for it. And that is what we understand, that ability to change the functionality of the system without incurring heavy NRE cost. That is referred to as an flexible. So engineer is said to have a flexible solution if with an existing resources, he would be trying to adopt the future trend, or he will be trying to adopt the future features which are being required to appraise that product in the market by the customer, isn't it? And that is what one of the features over which the engineers would be judged. Finally, I would like to make the statement intermittently at this stage that the design engineer's performance, design engineer's appreciation would depend on how much he can capitalize onto these design metrics in order to have the maximum gain to the company. Okay, and this is what expected from the design engineers when they work for any product or for any company. Okay, so I guess the flexibility is now known to you. Now moving ahead, very interesting aspect called as a time to prototype. Now this time to prototype, as we understand, we all doing a projects. In projects, we always use a make word of the prototype. Prototype is nothing but it is expected to build a working version of the system is called prototype. Prototype should never get sell into the market. And that is what we need to make an attempt to convert our prototype of the projects into the actual products. And that's what all this particular discussion that we are making at this moment would definitely come to rescue, and definitely would be very helpful in order to build up the version from prototype to an actual product, isn't it? So that this is also a second benefit outcome that we can expect out of this particular discussions. Okay. So time to prototype, I repeat it, it is just the time required to build the working versions of the system. After this, very interesting, very demanding metrics, that is time to market. The name itself is very, sufficient in order to understand the meaning of it. It is a time that is required to develop a system to the point that it can be released and sold to the customer. Now, what is this time is involved? If you refer back to the chart, or if you refer back to the development process, start from conceptualization to the release of that particular product into the market. Whatever that particular time that it will be taken, that is referred to as a time to market. So what is the time within which this particular product can be brought into the market very, very easily? This is what we need to understand as a time to market. And needless to say that we all believe that time to market should be as small as possible, as shortened as possible, I would say. Because if you just like as an example, if you are being a designer and if you say to the company, I will just get state of the art, the first class or the world class product for your company, give me 3 years. I need 3 years to do all these things. Give me 3 years so that I can do this particular product, which would be a world class product of that way. Okay. So I guess that particular request will not be accepted at all. It is with a reason that the company people would say that you keep doing at your home, 3 years, this product itself will not be there in the market, because there would not be any significance of that product in the market. That's what, like, you have to make this particular product entry into the market as early as possible. Start from the conceptualization to getting that product into the market. It can be released and sold to the customer. That particular time, which is time to market, is expected to be very short. And this is what a demanding design metrics as far as the design engineers of embedded systems are concerned. Once you get a particular concept, the company will expect that, okay, fine, let's do everything. And I want the release date of this particular product in the market should be this. That's it. 2 months, 3 months, within which you have to do everything. You have to make your experiences. You have to make your team work, and anything you do, one would have to get this particular product into market, because the further estimate says that being delayed to this particular product in the market, that will not be beneficial to the company, because similar grades product will be available in the market and company might not be benefited out of it. That is what the most design. So whenever you are seeing, or whenever you are listening to the CEO's lectures, CEO's talks or interviews on the internet also, you would get to know that these CEOs are talking in terms of time to market. The success of any company from the product is short the time to market, so that it can capitalize, it can capture the market very early, and you would be definitely getting monetary benefit out of it. That is what all the game is all about for this. Okay. So time to market is understood. We'll have an example, elaborative example, in order to prove the point. Like, delayed entry of a product in the market is always costly. In order to prove this particular statement, we will have this particular examples to run after the slides. Okay. The next point that I wish to discuss is maintainability. Now, it is an ability to modify the system after its initial release, obviously. It shouldn't be the case that a particular vehicle is being designed and developed at a factory, and for anything that is to be maintained onto that vehicle has to send to the factory. No, it cannot be. After its initial release, there should be different mechanism in the market by which that particular product can be maintained, isn't it? So that is ability to modify the systems after its initial release. That is a maintainability. Even the company also itself need to keep that particular product in a maintainability range. they should keep on adding the new features even onto it. Okay, so modification even after the initial release also to be taken care in the form of maintainability. Okay, the next point, which is far common, is correctness, safety. I think there is no compromise onto the logical correctness of the system. It has to be, I mean, there is no issues onto it. No need to discuss even anything on the correctness. It has to be correct. There should not be any compromise on the correctness. Second aspect is safety. Yes. Whatever gadget now I am using, being that powered from the battery, I naturally expect that this battery should not explode, because that is the most concern that we are carrying out any gadget when that is battery backed up or when that is battery powered more specifically. So battery powered devices always need to keep some kind of safety aspect in terms of this battery, as well as even the handling safety is also to be taken care of it. As well as this particular device, nowadays you can find that many devices are being campaigned or marketed, or advertisement is being there that it emits low radiations. Because we all understand this EMI, EMC radiations, those are coming out of this particular system, are not good for health. So if any company is claiming that it has got a low radiation, then the customer base, there might be a chances where customer base could be attracted to that. I mean, all these aspects are expected to be taken, and it is not just for sake of, marketing. Design team has to think on this, and design team has to make an efforts by which it ensures the low radiation. Unless that is this particular aspect is not being there at the design team, the advertisement or any, the marketing personals will not be able to market this with this particular feature. I mean, correctness, safety, and many more, isn't it? We limit the discussion at this moment because we are so many even factors to be thought of. You yourself can keep on adding into this particular list the different expectations. Out of your expectations, you can keep adding this list to be there in the design metric list. Okay, I encourage you to just keep adding at least 1 or 2 features and let me know by any one of the communication method that what exactly you thought, apart from mentioned here, what exactly you thought as a new addition into the design metrics. Okay, because whatever we are discussing here is from the book which is being reference given, is this hardware and software, like a unified approach of hardware software introduction by Frank Vahid. Okay, we are discussing it from that particular book, but there can be in the recent time, there can be n number of design metrics that you yourself wish to add onto it. And I'll be very happy if you come out with some kind of that particular addition into existing list of this design metrics. Please do that. It definitely would be helpful to just make your mind fresh for an engineers. Okay, fine. So try and understand that whenever so many design metrics and so many things are being given, don't you think that the engineer would be burdened out of it? Definitely. So that is definitely going to be a burden on the engineer, because everything has to be met. And we understand in many cases, these particular design metrics have got competitions. Competitions in a sense, you try and improve one, the others would get worse. For example, you try and reduce this particular size, you would get to know that the performance or the features or the system's ability to function, that also might be escaping out of these boundary lines. So you might not get fit the expected performance when you are trying to squeeze on the size of this particular product. So size and performance is always the conflicting design metrics. You try and improve on one, the second would try and definitely going to be. Like you want a very high featured, flooded kind of device to be made so that it would perform very well. Okay. And in the case of high performance, you would get to notice that the size of the device might not be to miniaturized level what you expect. I mean, in either part of it, once you try to improve one, the second might be at the worst case. Second might be at the compromising level of it. Same the case that we can find for the power and NRE cost. As I told you that in order to optimize the power consumption, there are many different technology tools which are basically incurred very heavy cost. So when you try and optimize in order to have a low power consumption, then you might need to make use of very sophisticated technology stack, technology tools, by virtue of which you would be able to attain this low power consumption. But the cost of the system, cost of the non-recurring engineering cost of the system, that definitely could keep on increasing, isn't it? That is what we appraise still the systems which are having very less power, because we understand that a lot of efforts, a lot of money is being put up. Though it is not being incurred very oftenly, a lot of money is being, a lot of monetary aspects are being put up in order to achieve these particular features. I mean, this is an example where we can understand the size and power and size and performance and power and NRE cost are always the conflicting design metrics. They compete with each other. When you try and improve one, the second might not be that much improved. The second aspect of this discussion I would like to bring at the moment is, if you really want to achieve, if you really want to have an optimized solution for this particular conflicting design metrics, then an engineer is expected to know both the hardware and software aspects in order to optimize this conflicting design metrics. Now, let me tell you at this particular moment, the word hardware and software, that is not expected to be understood in its general sense of it. Hardware and software is expected to be known as an technologies of the implementation. The software technology of the implementation is where you have got a general purpose architecture, a processor, and around which you just try and develop the functionality with the help of different software approach, which has got a flexibility and programmability into it. And hardware aspect is something where you have a fixed path of their design, that is in the form of ASIC. To cut short the discussion, I would say it is in the form of ASIC, application specific integrated circuit kind of approach, where you have a fixed data path in order to accomplish a task from initial point to and final point of it. Now, both these has got referred to be as, the software is referred to be as a general purpose processor technology, and hardware is referred to be as a single purpose processor technology. And in between that, there is a technology called as an application specific integrated processors, which we are referring as a microcontrollers, because microcontrollers are having an approach of programmability, as well as some hardware components are being there on chip of it. That is what this is, a blend of software and hardware in order to have the benefits, or in order to have the blend of benefits of both the aspects. These microcontrollers are always being designed, which is referred to be as a microcontroller technology, referred to be as an application specific integrated processor technology. Otherwise, we have a technology called software technology and hardware technology. So the point at the moment I wish to bring at your notice is this conflicting design matrix. If you need to achieve the optimization of it, then you need to be both, you need to be expertise into the both hardware as well as software that is needed. This particular hardware is more towards the VLSI design assignments. Okay. And this software is basically in order to explore the different code, explore the different software algorithms in order to meet up this particular task. Okay. And that is what it is being written, that not just the hardware or software expertise as a common. You have to get a blend of this. A designer must be comfortable with various technologies in order to choose the best for a given application and constraints. So what are these various technologies? That's what I explained you. General purpose processor technology, single purpose processor technology, and application specific integrated processor technology. General purpose, like called GPP, that is called to be as in processors which we are using off the shelf commodity like Intel processors. Hardware, that we understand any chip that is being designed in an ASIC form, like for example JPEG codec or any kind of devices. And microcontroller is something which we understand, it has got a flexibility, it has got programmability, at the same time it has got something into it which accelerate the execution speed by virtue of establishing or by virtue of having more number of hardware units onto it, isn't it? So I don't need to program it all the time. I mean, this is what expected from the today's context, that engineers should know both software as well as hardware aspects of the technology. So let's have a very quick example, which we already discussed a couple of sessions back. And this example is this particular digital camera. See, there is nothing like which you cannot implement in either hardware or software. Anything can be implemented in hardware and software. The choice of making implementation either on hardware and software, that is still referred to be as and very great issue. And that issue in the form of VLSI terminology called as a co-design issue. Though that is not here the part of syllabus, I want you to make aware about only the term, that is there exists a issue called co-design issue. And when I refer this co-design issue, the name itself is very indicative. In order to design the system, if what kind of technologies that I'm supposed to make use of, whether software or hardware, because this hardware and software technology might be expected to exist at the same time. When it exists at the same time, that means when they are coexisted, okay, when they are coexisted, then there is an issue, there is a dilemma that which technology is to be used for which kind of actions. Like for example, this JPEG codec, as we have discussed, I can write a complete software code around the microcontroller, but that will take a lot of time. So instead of that, if I really want the compression of an image to be very quick, what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to design a chip in the form of JPEG codec. So I'm migrating now from software aspect to hardware aspect in the greed of having greater control over the execution time. I mean, all these particular aspects that has to be known beforehand, or that has to be, our engineer has to be very well versed with both the technologies called as a software technology as well as hardware technology. Okay, I think this much discussion is sufficient in order to understand that the design metrics are conflicting, and in order to have the optimized solution to build for this conflicting design metrics, that one would need to be very expertise into both hardware as well as software, or whatever available technologies those are being there for an application. The designer should be able to make use of those technology judiciously in order to address the optimization of this particular conflicting design metrics. Okay, so we'll move ahead for understanding time to market, which is something, as I explained you, which is very heavy design metrics or very demanding design metrics. Okay, so we understand that the definition as it's a time required to develop a product to a point where it can be sold to the customer. Now, when this particular in the entire process, you can see that this particular diagram would make us aware that revenue that would be earned by any product into the market would be modeled with this kind of shape that we even refer to as a Gaussian shape, or we refer to as a normal distribution shape. Isn't it? Initially, there will not be so high revenue. So revenue would keep on increasing as the time progress. There would be some peak time, or there would be some peak, after which the product significance in the market would be deteriorating itself, by virtue of which the revenue that would be generated by that product in the market also would keep on deteriorating. And at the end, as you understand, the product would get vanished from the market. In this particular diagram, you will understand that there is a term that we wish to bring into the, in this discussion, called market window. Now, this market window is nothing but this is the period. This is the period during which the product would have the highest sell. Okay, and this particular product has got the highest sell into this kind of window. If you see this particular time, this is the time where the product has got the maximum revenue generated out of the market. And that is what we said to be as a market window has captured with this particular time. So though the product would exist in the market from 0 to X, there is a time from this to this where which the market has got the, or market has produced the better revenue for this particular product. Okay, and that is what we refer to as an market window, or time, this particular market window. Fine. And average time to market, that is constraint, is all about 8 months. Now, I think this is what the exaggerated figures, I just made it into the red, because today there would be very hard to believe that any product would have got the sustained market revenue generated for 8 continuous months. In the volatile markets, it's very difficult to have this 8 months for a product to be sustained into the market. The new features would keep on coming day in, day out. And that is what, like, this window will not be that much available. That is what it's more pressurizing on the designers to just get this particular entry into the product early. Okay. And as well as get this highest revenue in a short span of time. This market window might have been crunched to 2 months maximum revenue. The product would stay into the market, but only for 2 months it would give you the maximum revenue for it. Okay, fine. So maybe in the next session, we'll discuss the next aspect by which we'll understand this particular techno-commercial design aspect in some more reinforced way with the help of examples.